The purpose of the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education is to improve access to high-quality apprenticeships in order to transform the skills landscape.
Apprentices at Mulberry are the future. We have lots of skilled craftspeople, but we really want to make sure that we're bringing in fresh talent.
We recognised that we had an ageing workforce, and so those skills could walk out the door at any point.
We have to grow that talent ourselves.
So I'm a part marine operations officer.
It's an apprenticeship looking at the shore side of the shipping industry.
Apprentices, they're a good match for us because they bring in young talent and they're allowing us to succession plan within the business.
We're looking for future managers, development specialists. The apprenticeship allows us to train them to be able to embed the quality element of what we do.
I've always wanted to be a civil engineer, and this dream will be achieved once I finish my apprenticeship.
Apprenticeships are one of the oldest forms of training. These apprenticeship standards are all designed by employers in order to meet employers' needs and to provide, therefore, really meaningful transferability for the apprentice.
High-quality apprenticeships are built on partnerships between learners, employers, training providers and assessors. The Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education helps develop and deliver standards representing a wide range of educational levels, from 2 right up to 6 and 7, which includes degree apprenticeships. They ensure that apprenticeships provide sufficient knowledge, skills and behaviours that mean the employer has the skills they need in their workforce and the apprentice can prosper in their chosen occupation.
In the design of apprenticeship standards, we put employers very much in the driving seat. We involve other organisations in that, so we want to get endpoint assessment organisations, training providers and so forth involved in that development to make sure that what we actually design is ultimately deliverable.
Developing an occupational standard consists of a number of steps. First, an employer or group of employers will identify an occupation suitable for an apprenticeship.
And they will approach the Institute and say, we think there's a need for an apprenticeship standard to be created in a particular occupation.
Once they've established there's no existing suitable standard, the Institute will identify the industry sector route in which the apprenticeship standard sits. Meanwhile, the group of employers form what's known as a trailblazer group.
The Trailblazer group is made up of a minimum of 10 other industry groups.
We will support them in the writing of a proposal to establish that the occupation is indeed suitable to become an apprenticeship standard and to make sure that the Trailblazer group itself is the right group of people to design the apprenticeship to ensure transferability and so forth.
We were assigned a relationship manager from the Institute, and they were there as our guide to bring us through the process.
The next step is to write the occupational standard, and it is a list of the knowledge, skills and behaviours set against duties which an apprentice will need to know how to do in order to be regarded as fully occupationally competent.
They also need to develop an endpoint assessment plan, or EPA, that sets out the methods that will be used to assess all apprentices undertaking the apprenticeship.
The Institute works really hard to make sure that endpoint assessment plans are reliable and valid by looking very closely at the methods and their suitability for assessing competence in that particular occupation.
The Institute ensures the correct delivery of apprenticeships through external quality assurance carried out by either the Institute itself or by one of a number of other accredited organisations. The work of the Trailblazer Group is overseen by a group of industry experts known as a route panel.
I sit on the Transport and Logistics route panel. I see them as a voice of industry. The Trailblazer Groups do fantastic work in getting the standards to where they need to be. And what we do is critique that and ensure nothing's been missed, there isn't any oversight, and that it will deliver what employers want and what industry wants.
The Institute also has a panel of apprentices themselves. The apprentice panel members share their experiences and insight into the delivery of high-quality apprenticeships.
We act as a voice, essentially, for all apprentices to help improve apprenticeship. Apprentices see it firsthand. The Institute respond really well.
The Institute is also working on producing the outline content for the new T-level qualifications. They are based on the same occupational standards as apprenticeship standards, and that's really important. The Institute also owns the occupational maps. These are effectively an organisational tool that enable us to understand where occupations sit in relation to one another. The Institute will continue to have a role for a long time, not least because the workplace is constantly changing. We'll have to review the apprenticeship standards to make sure they're continually relevant. We'll also develop new standards as new occupations come online.
We've now opened our doors to a whole new generation, which I think is a great prospect for the future. So to have the Institute making sure the quality of the apprenticeship programs are there is of the utmost importance.
I've never looked back. I'll be very proud of myself due to the fact that how far I've come.
It means security. At the end of my apprenticeship, I'll have that knowledge to step straight into a job.
It's very important for us to know that the Institute are there to get the qualification through in the correct manner that we want to.
It's normally the youngsters that get to do an apprenticeship. For me, being a bit older, it's just a really good experience to be learning again.
I feel very much part of their story.
My apprenticeship means everything to me.
I've actually come out with a maths qualification. I'm so proud of myself.
It's my future to become a fully qualified civil engineer at Transport for London.